It is dial-up.
Okay, we are. We
point.
are live. We are. Okay, awesome. So I am so excited. We have another Thursday night. I tell you what, the weeks go by fast whenever you look forward to Thursday evenings.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. Hang on, give me just 1 second. Okay, it had an error for my profile, so I think it should work now. So anyways, a little technical difficulty there for a second, but it's okay. We have an awesome conversation for you guys tonight. I'm so excited for this. But real quick, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. If you don't know me, I'm Brittany Brainstorm. I am the creative director of Brainstorm Boutique. And we help small businesses with big dreams, with creative strategies, web design, branding, and with brainstorm intensives for your marketing strategies. Tonight, I have my sister with me, who's my creative partner in crime, Casey. She is a talented designer and also a confidence coach. But it's not about us tonight. We have a good friend, Chris McMillin, in Florida with us. He's living the dream out there and by the ocean. So, Chris, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, good evening, ladies. It's good to join you, and I've been tuning into all your other episodes, so it's good to be a part of one. My name is Chris McMillin, and I own a digital marketing agency called Evolve Strategic Consulting. That was formed out of a passion for marketing, which was my major in school, and just sort of the way the world was shifting in business about 5 to 6 years ago, and I kind of got on that wave and did some consulting work, and also handled it at one time upwards of more than 20 to 25 clients, individual businesses.
Wow.
Yeah. And that roster has sort of dwindled. But I also own another company, which is a franchise business, which we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. It's called Barbie Clean. It's a very narrow niche. It's I live in Florida where people have outdoor kitchens and lanais and things, and they all have grills on them. So basically, we clean and we service those grills. We sell them, we replace them, we do everything with them. Very narrow niche, but very cool business. I thought it was a good idea when I saw the franchise and sort of the light bulb went on, and everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody who asked, they thought it was crazy. Maybe my wife supported me, but anybody else was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And it's turned out to be the best thing I ever did.
Wow.
So yeah, here we are. And
wow,
that's so cool.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Okay, so first of all, I have to ask, and I know this, but where did you get your degree from?
Southern Illinois University.
Salukis! Yes. Yeah. Okay. I always love having another Saluki on here. I am always so amazed by what a lot of Salukis are doing, because usually I'll be interviewing and I don't even realize that they are a Saluki, like if they're local. And it's just, I always love finding that commonality. So
many talented Salukis out there in the business world. I know a ton of successful people, really successful people that went to SIU, and everybody loves the place. I mean, everybody still talks about it really fondly. It was a special place, and I still try and get back to visit a little bit when I can. I think I'm going to make it to a football game this fall.
Oh yeah,
that would be awesome.
Maybe early in the fall before it gets too cold, because my blood is thinned out.
Oh yeah,
that's right. You're down there soaking up the sun. You don't got any of this cold weather.
Who needs another Midwestern winter? Come on.
That's why we live here.
I know. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to aspire to be like you so I could get me in a warmer temperatured place in the winter times.
We love it.
So Chris, you went to school at SIU.
Yes.
And then just kind of give me like an understanding of like what your career projection was like after you graduated that led up to your own business.
Well, my career path went through a lot of different twists and turns. In my 20s and early 30s, I just cycled through sales jobs because I was good at sales, but I never really found anything I was truly passionate about. I think things that I wanted to do or society thought that were good things for me to do, getting medical sales job or, whatever telecom sales I did at one point. And it all kind of led me through a path. And at some point in my life, actually, take that back, not at some point in my life. About 10 years ago, my stepfather got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he ended up passing away. It was about a 2-year ordeal. And through that ordeal, I just kind of realized that I wasn't doing enough with my life. And I went back to school and got my master's degree. And while I was doing my master's degree, it was at McKendree in Lebanon, Illinois. And I was able to coach their men's tennis team because I played in college and had a little background there. So that was a great experience for me. And then got through with that, went on to work at Allstate Insurance, worked my way through the corporate ladder there for, 7 years. About 5 years in, realized that it wasn't for me. I'm not a real in the box thinker. I'm more of an outside the box thinker.
Yeah.
So my creativity, while it helped my career, it also probably hurt my career because I wasn't afraid to speak. So at that point, about 5 years into that, while I was still working at Allstate is when I actually started Evolve Strategic Consulting and started doing some business consulting, like operational efficiencies and things like that. And that evolved into digital marketing. And then when we were going to move to Florida, we were looking at homes in Florida, and every house we looked at had this beautiful outdoor kitchen, in it. And, the light bulb moment went on, and I just happened to be looking for franchises to buy at the same time because I was interested in that. And maybe, I was like, maybe I'll buy a franchise. And, I looked at everything from like Jimmy John's to whatever. And, some of those franchises are like $1 million or $2 million. And it's like, when do you ever make any money? You know what I mean? So it was a really low barrier, great idea. At some point you just got to go for it in life. So I did. And that's how I'm here.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So
it's a non-traditional path for sure.
You know what? I think ultimately all the great stories in life are in a non-traditional path, you pick up. So I was talking with Josh Benson about this a couple weeks ago, and it was about how you pick up different things from each job and each each experience, the skill set from this place that transfers over here. And then before you know it, all of those things came together for this one thing. What would you say, was like the key pieces that you picked up from these other jobs that made this successful for you?
Man, so many things. And I think I told my sister this a while back when this franchise hit the ground, and we like after the first year, I was like, okay, this is a good business. And like the second year, I'm like, holy cow, what I signed up for, sort of thing. Like I knew that it was going to be a hit, right? And I told her, I was like, everything I've ever done in my life has prepared me for this moment.
Wow.
Sometimes you just have that epiphany moment. Like along the way, there's been, a lot of stops in my career. Specifically, what prepared me for it? I mean, I think when I started at Allstate, you have to be a really high-functioning mobile employee. Like you have to do everything. You had to schedule your own appointments. You had to, talk to people on the phone. You had to handle customer service. You had to do the file work. And like, that's, as much as it was overwhelming for people, it kind of prepared me for owning a business because you've got to be the jack of all trades a lot of times, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I had somebody to do this billing for me, or, I think there's so many stops. That stop in particular, which was probably my least favorite of all because it was a very corporate environment, but that probably prepared me the most for owning a business from an administrative perspective and the things that you have to do. There's going to be days where you wake up and you have to solve problems as a business owner. I tell people this all the time. I don't care if you own a franchise business. I don't care what kind of business you own. You are solving problems from the morning you wake up until you're done working that day.
Yeah.
And that's just part of being a business owner. And that's not saying good, bad, or indifferent, but if you can't problem solve, you're not going to be a successful business owner.
Absolutely. You know, I think the one thing a lot of people don't realize, which I learned real quick whenever you start your own business, is the admin part of things. And like from contracts to billing to follow-ups to communication, like all of that is so important. I have a pretty extensive customer service background that
Yeah.
I'm going to admit at first it was almost kind of like, oh, well, I just did customer service. So it was like kind of I don't want to say embarrassing, but it was kind of like, oh, like that little moment. But it had literally the most important training I've ever had is customer service experience.
For real.
If I draw off of working from my first job, well, not my first job, but my first impactful job was working for a donut shop.
Yeah.
I draw off of that job all the time.
Sure.
And just like how to create those like connections with people and make loyals, like how to make a loyal customer.
Mm.
Yeah.
And how to be the somebody's first stop at 5 a.m.
Absolutely.
and make them feel good.
Yeah.
I draw off that all the time. It's so important.
First impressions. I mean,
yeah.
Anything you can like. There's little things like just leaving people with a positive experience.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Just the littlest thing can change somebody's whole day or make you memorable in their mind. And you're right. When you become a business owner, you draw on all of these things. You don't really realize it while you're going through it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? Yeah, this. So it shapes who you are, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really does. I think I've been working with people here lately who have worked with other designers or others, and I'm getting a lot of interesting feedback because they may have had a different experience that wasn't what they were wanting. And then I'm having to assure them that that's not how I run my business.
Right.
And it's kind of to the point where it's like I want to create a master class for like how to have good customer service as a designer and a marketing expert, because it is so important for all businesses, period. Like your customers are what makes your business successful. But so Chris, I'm curious about you're looking for a franchise and you've already had your own business experience, which I think obviously was very successful.
Right.
What made you decide to switch to, well, not really switch, because I think you're doing your other business still.
Yeah, we still have it.
What made you kind of think about, I'm going to do this too?
Well, curiosity, because like I said, I started my business at the same time I was still kind of winding down my corporate career. So I essentially had two careers at that point, if that makes sense. I was working a lot. My job was essentially, traveling and going to meetings. So I was working remotely, and I had a lot of free time, quite honestly, which is, in hindsight, a blessing, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it worked out great. But so it's funny. I was working for Allstate, and I was in Brooklyn, New York, and I was in a hotel, and I was bored because it snowed like 2 feet that day, and I was like, I'm just going to look on the internet and find franchises and just look at them. And I came across Barbie Clean, and we had been in Florida like the week before looking for homes, and like the light bulb just went off, and things sort of snowballed from there.
Wow,
that's wonderful.
It was like fate almost. It really was. I don't, right place, right time. I wish I could say that. And my goal was always to open more than one business, and my goal is still to open more businesses than the ones that I have now. Once we figure out how to clone me, or I can get a better handle on how to do that, that's definitely in the cards too. So
cloning yourself, that's just the important thing right there. Can we get that going? But we want like the adult version of ourselves. Like we want the what is it, Family Matters, where there was like Stefan Urkel and Urkel, like just go in the machine, clone yourself.
He'd be Stefan, and then he'd also be the ninja karate guy. But
Sure.
nobody talks about the karate guy, but the karate guy was insane. He was so much fun.
And so I think in order to keep doing that, to keep evolving and owning more businesses, I'm learning to let go of more tasks. And this has been something that I think every business owner struggles with.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to come to grips with it. I can't do everything, and I know I can't do everything, but it's just, it's in you. I can handle it all. So I'm starting to delegate more, and that is opening up a little more time for me, and it feels good. So I think obviously that's going to be the path to opening more businesses. So that's just kind of where my mindset is with my growth, and whether that's another Barbie Clean territory, that could be another business, which is something I've thought about, or just another business in general. I'm just entrepreneurial motivated. I watch business shows on TV if they're on. Like, I'm just interested in that stuff. So it's where my mind's at 24/7.
Love it.
That's fascinating. So, okay. So we talked very briefly at the beginning at Barbie Clean, but I want you to talk a little more in depth, like what it was, what drew you to it, what exactly you do, and then what's that growth look like with a franchise? Like because when you start a business, you're kind of figuring it out. And I know you're still figuring it out with a franchise, but typically there's already a business model in place that is kind of like put together for you, but I know you still have to do a lot yourself.
Yeah. So what drew it to me was just an innovative idea, concept. I mean, it really only works in coastal places where there's warm weather year round. California, Florida. I think Texas. There's some franchises. There's others, but obviously the ones that do the best are on the coast, in the coastal territories. What drew it to me? The innovative idea, the lower cost of entry in terms of a franchise, because if you go out and look at franchises, they're expensive. I mean, you go look at websites. I mean, they're crazy expensive, and some of them, I'm like, well, when would you ever really make any money? You would be indebted to these people for the rest of your life. So, you have to invest something to make it worthwhile, right? But there's got to be a common sense aspect to it. So I thought it was worth the risk because, well, the model had been proven. I had no real proof for it. I just thought it was a good idea. It would work where I lived. And that's really how I got into it. And then in terms of the growth model for it, so one of the great things about starting a franchise is, and I'm sure you both can relate from starting your own business. You're like, well, I'm going to do this, and then when you get into it, there's 9 different turns that you didn't think about, and consequences, each one of those decisions you didn't think about. So the franchise model, they've kind of already made all those mistakes for you, if that's what that makes sense. You're buying a business that has good pathways already built, that has a brand name, that has systems, that has resources. Hey, I can call this person if I have a question, if I get stuck. It's not
That's awesome.
It's not Casey, trying to figure it out, on her own, right? So from that perspective, that's really the benefit of buying a franchise. I don't want to say it's a business in a box, because that sounds too callous, I guess, but it does give you a structure and a model and a place to start and go from. Whereas I feel like a lot of people, when they try and start a business, they get lost in the minutia of starting it and worried about whether my logo has a curve in the R or not, or the star on my logo looks great. Like, things that don't matter really in the grand scheme of things. They're not going to make you $1, right? But they get lost in the minutia of the business, which don't really matter. So from that perspective, you buy a franchise and you go, right? So it's not for everybody, but it's a great option, and I think a lot of people, overlook some of the benefits that are there for a franchise style business.
Yeah.
So you still have another business on top of this? So you have 2 businesses then?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a lot.
Yes.
So when you started your franchise, how were you able to take the skill sets and the things that you learned in the business that you started and put it towards the new business?
Well, I think right away it was definitely the digital marketing aspect, because I was able to do all of that for myself because I knew how to do it. Whereas other people, I think, are hesitant to do that in terms of a form of marketing. I'm like, no, we're good. This is what we need to do. And it worked. Like, literally the day I opened, I started getting calls from Google on the business.
That's amazing.
So that was
wow.
funny. Yeah. So that was actually probably my biggest ad in terms of what I could do. So I knew, like, I can do that sort of thing. And, that's definitely the thing that I brought to the business that most others haven't brought.
So with Barbie Clean, you mentioned earlier that you guys service like
Yes.
in like commercial grade, or do you do like all kinds of grills? Like if
Um,
someone's like has a summer home in or a winter home
yeah,
or whatever in Florida, can they
it's
work with
mostly
you?
it's mostly residential. So and
Okay.
most of where we live are like seasonal snowbirds, right? So they'll all have a built-in grill in their lanai outside, um, and that's really what we service. So we clean them, we do repairs on them, we sell them, we install them, we do everything with them. Um, it's I started out just cleaning them, and it's just sort of evolved into the rest of it because there's no one that services them, like, and there's hardly anybody that replaces them. So it turned out to be, while I thought I was buying a grill cleaning business, there's like 3 other revenue streams in the business I had no idea that were even there. So
Wow.
yeah, it's really grown. And to get back to your point about the growth model, I mean, I've almost doubled my revenue every single year that I've been
Wow.
in business, and this will be my
Wow.
going on year 5. So it's been an upward trajectory, and like I said, if I could clone myself, we'd really be doing good.
Okay, so do you have a team working with you, or are you doing all of this yourself?
I have 3 guys that work for me now. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, in various capacities. Yeah. I could use more, but honestly, there's a level of quality I want to provide. I think it's a challenge for any business owner in any business to find good help, right?
Yeah.
So I have a couple of I have 3 great helpers. 2 of them, one of them is retired military, one retired and owned his own business. Both of them just moved to Florida, and one is still work. So
Wow.
went the older route with that, and another gentleman that I met through the grapevine here, and he's awesome. He does a great job. He does repairs and installs for us, and so I've learned to, the better they do, the better I do, and I'm starting to, you know, uh, invest more in them and push more of expand that way. But it's hard. I could hire 3 to 6 more people, but it's really hard to find good help.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really
especially when you're going to people's homes.
yes.
Because
And I'm
there's got to
not.
be that baseline level of like
Oh my
trust,
God.
like you trust them, and then the homeowner has to
Well,
trust
they
them.
have to trust me, and a lot of times I'm dealing with people. I mean, like $40 million homes and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I'm not even dealing with the customer half the time. I'm dealing with their handlers. So like,
Yeah.
I can't just send anybody there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
It's really
That's,
cool. It's a really cool client. Like it's a really cool business. It is.
I was going to say, that is a very niche audience whenever
Yes.
you do think about that. The
Yeah.
people who are affording, whether they're actually in Florida 24/7 or not, but
Yeah.
to have that kind of outdoor space, which that they're hosting and they're having, gatherings and maybe, okay, so my one question, do you feel
Yeah.
like business has grown during COVID,
Oh
or
my
do
God.
you feel like,
I have been one of the recipients of a COVID boom. I have.
Wow.
Well, because
everyone's
everybody's been
outside?
home using their grill with cooking outside. So
Wow.
yes, it was a boom. Um, I don't take this lightly, but I didn't miss one single day of work last year.
Wow.
Because we work outside, so we're not in close proximity with anybody. So even during, the 2 weeks to slow the curve, thing when when it was really eerie outside, we were still going to work, and we don't have any interaction with people. So I'm like, hey, Venmo me the money or whatever, and but we were the recipient of the boom, and I know I'm fortunate, but I think that it's that way with a lot of home services. Anything with the home, I think
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, it's been an explosion, really.
That's
And I don't
great.
know if there's any going
Wow.
back. Now everybody has them, and now everybody has to service them.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh, that's great. So my other question for you is, since you found these other revenue streams for your business, have the
Yeah.
other franchise owners, have they like learned from you, or is this kind of something that you're just doing, or how does that
I think,
work?
I think that they have. I think that they have picked up on it. I've been the #1 franchise in the country for like 3 years, I think. So
Wow.
they kind of follow my lead. I mean, we definitely talk to the different franchise owners. But they're, a lot of those guys have been doing it longer than I have, so they're smarter than I am. I'm just a guy who works hard and is doing pretty well at what he's doing. But I definitely learn from those guys every day, and you know, I still call and ask questions. I don't have the answers to everything. I'm just a guy working hard, doing well. So
Hey, that's a good position to be in.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you would have that kind of flexibility in a franchise to add services, but I guess it varies depending on what you bought into.
yeah, but it's a natural fit. I mean, they all do repairs, whether or not the franchise owners want to deal with the repairs, because cleaning is obviously easier, um, or replacing. It gets to be technical and specialized, but
Yeah.
yeah, they don't care. I mean, franchises want you to make the most money possible
Yeah.
because they're collecting a royalty on your income. So
Yeah.
they're great with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, because they're still making money off of you.
Yeah, for sure.
That's which rightfully so. Yeah. Oh goodness, I had a question now, just like evaporated whenever we were talking about that. But I'm interested to hear, like, how does it work if you are already bought into the franchise and you want to have more territories that aren't necessarily, like, would they still have to be in Florida, or can you like do a whole different area that's far from you?
You could. I think it would be a bit of a challenge. I know
Mm.
some of the guys own multiple franchises in California. I know that some of those guys own 2 or 3 or 4 territories, but they're all, in the Los Angeles area or, up the coast there somewhere. You could, but I think it'd be a challenge. I would really have to truly be working above the business. I still work in the business, and like I said, I'm learning to work above it a little bit more, but I truly have to be working above it only to do that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of franchisors or a lot of franchisees, they own multiple locations. I mean, a lot of these people that own fast food restaurants own 10, 15, 20 of them, and that's, they build it up and they sell them, and they make a fortune.
Wow. So did you know a lot about grilling before you bought this franchise?
Well, I mean, I know my way around a grill. It's
Cool.
funny.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I was dating Kelly, we bought a grill at Home Depot. It was just etched in my memory because we opened the box and like the thing came in like 900 pieces, and this was before I'd ever even thought. This is before I ever even thought, about buying a grill franchise. And it was a funny and colorful language filled couple of hours for me putting that grill together. And she reminds me of that still to this day. And she's like, "Do you think you'd own a grill company after that day?" I was like, "No."
Yeah. If you could survive that together, you're bound to get married. It's just gonna happen.
Oh gosh, the IKEA of grills.
Yeah. Yes, that's what it felt like. I was like, you have to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So
every time I go to IKEA with my boyfriend, I'm like, "Is this it? Are we gonna make it? Are we gonna do it?" This is a relationship check.
It really is, actually.
Yeah.
I remember when me and Matt bought a shelving unit from IKEA, and I think I ended up being asked to leave the space. Like, you just sit over there and I will finish the project.
You're gonna have to come back later.
No, I apparently I was micromanaging something I didn't know anything about. So there you go. You learn your strengths.
You gotta work above the shelving unit. You can't work in the shelving unit. I just hand the tools over. That is all you gotta do. But so now that you have that in your history of putting together a grill, and what
are these grills like compared to your Home Depot grill? Like, are they like
Yeah, totally different. So I
totally
mean,
different?
yeah, most of the ones we sell or work on are $4 or $5 or $6,000 for a
Oh
grill.
my
It's
gosh.
insane, but this is the world that we operate in. It's just not.
That's
It's just a
cool.
different market altogether. So, um, again, I had no idea I was ever entering into the. It just sort of happened. I was like, that's a good idea.
So I'm just being nosy.
Yeah.
What is your target audience then? Like, what would you define them as?
Uh,
Are you allowed to say?
I mean, well, I mean, it's an affluent audience. I mean,
Yeah.
I live in a town called Estero, which is 10, 12 miles from Naples, which is one of
Mm,
the wealthiest places on the planet, for lack of a better term. So there's a lot of very wealthy and seasonal residents here. So
mm,
it's just sort of it suits where I live.
yeah.
It's I bought the perfect franchise for my area, if that makes
That's
sense.
wonderful.
I love that.
Couldn't have been any better in terms of that.
So what would you recommend to someone who right now is sitting thinking, I want to have a franchise, but they literally do not know what they want to do yet?
I would tell them to start to go on to there's franchise websites that offer hundreds of there's brokers out there that offer hundreds of franchises on their websites, and go
Wow.
click through there, and that's what I did. You can go start clicking through there, and there's categories, and there's a business for everything under the sun, and find something that interests you, and make inquiries on it. I mean, that's the only thing you can do. I mean, I get um, the guy who owns Barbie Clean nationally. He refers a lot of people to me to talk to them about the business,
Mm,
because he'll get people asking, calling and asking about franchises. So I talk to people all the time that might are considering owning a franchise, or what are the perks to buying in, or that has specific questions about our business. So I think most any franchise would give you that opportunity. And like I said, um, it's a long road sometimes to start a business, and if you're not passionate about it, or and I think I mentioned this to you in my email at some point, like a lot of people uh, like the sound of starting a business, but
hmm
you dip your toe in the water, and when it's a little cold and it gets a little choppy, then they want to head for the hills. And
Yeah.
as a business owner, you've got to have the problem solving skills, you've got to have passion, you've got to have the desire to get through it. I mean, and failure is part of success. I feel like sometimes if people fail, they see it as a bad thing, and they get dejected, and I'm going to give up, or they lose their desire or motivation to do things. Well, I mean, if failure's been the most important part of my success, quite
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, I can tell you I still fail every day. So,
That's
including today.
really true. I think people there's times you can be afraid to fail. I know that whenever, I started my business, I was almost too nervous like to announce it publicly, you're like, what if this is a bad idea? What if no one's interested? Like all
You're
these
worried about
thoughts that
you're worried about what people will think, right? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
crazy stuff like that. And that's something you've built up in your mind that is an obstacle that's totally
Yeah.
in your mind. It's not in anybody else's thought process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because then, once it happens, then all these people are like interested in it, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
wait, this is the right path for me to do. What if I had listened to all those unnecessary fears created just because I haven't flexed that muscle yet, in my mind? And
Yeah.
it definitely is. It really does test your mental strength.
It does, but it's a good thing. It's Casey. How did you end up at Second City? You did that, right?
Yeah, I have always, ever since I was a kid,
Mhm.
wanted to just tell jokes.
Yeah.
And it is something that's always made me happy. Brittany can tell you, I used to go around up to anybody and tell them a joke, like any sort of knock joke, any kind of joke you can think of. And it made me really happy. Well, people kept telling me I can't make money in it.
Yeah.
So I stopped.
That's for you.
Yeah, I like kind of fell off.
And
I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't know what I was going to, I was kind of like, okay, I'll just like grow up.
Sure.
So I went to a really, really small high school. 97 kids in the whole high school, super small. I don't know if you've heard of Thompsonville. It exists.
I've
it's
heard
a place.
Of it probably, but
yeah. Anyway, we didn't have any sort of arts program at all until I was a senior. And then they decided to do a drama program. Well, at that point, I had taken all the electives that was known to man. I'd already done all the shop. I'd done everything. And I was trying to avoid taking another year of math and English because I was like, I'm no good at this. Like, I'm not here trying to like,
right? Know your strength.
Yeah, exactly. And so I decided to just be like, whatever, I'm just going to do the drama program. And I wound up always getting the lead part in it. And I really fell in love with it. I was able to play the Grinch, which was a lot of fun. Nice. And there were parts in the Grinch where I had to improv. And I really liked it. It was the first time I ever had to do anything like that naturally. And I was like, every time I leaned into telling jokes in my life, it just like paid me back.
Sure.
So then I went to school for advertising, which is completely, it's the same but different.
Yeah.
And finally I decided just to go up to Chicago and just do it and just commit to the idea of telling jokes. And I didn't like the idea of doing like university theater courses. I felt like if I was going to do it, it was going to be something concentrated and specifically funny.
Sure.
And yeah, so I just went to Second City.
You have to try out, or do you have to like, is there some sort of formal application process?
There's no formal application process. You go in, you take like about a year or more of, I guess, like your undergrad kind of classes. It's just funnel after funnel after funnel.
Sure.
And then after you take those courses, then you just start hitting audition walls to open up the, what I call the big boy courses. Because I don't know what else to call them. It's called the conservatory program, but it doesn't explain what it is. Anyway, then once you start passing those audition walls, which was like, it's really stressful. You find yourself crying over jokes. It's like really stressful. But then you learn sketch writing, directing, and acting. And I graduated from the same program that Bill Murray, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, all those people did.
Sure.
And yeah, just been able to use it. It's you learn skill sets in that program that pay you back every single day.
Sure.
Yeah, it's very shaping.
Life skill sets, right? Things you can't learn in the classroom, right?
You can't learn that in a classroom. Yeah. One of the most important things with improv that I tell a lot of people that is like the most like just like the meaty thing in it is that you will always learn how to de-escalate a situation and let it not affect you afterwards.
Yeah.
Because you just move it on. You keep going. So if somebody comes up to you and they're playing like some sort of a character or acting some sort of a way in real life, you're able to interact with it, keep it fun, and keep moving with your day.
Move on. Yeah.
And it's the best way to live. It's the best way. Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
We have a comment here from, from our mom, Melanie Bickett. She comments, so interesting. Allowing titles to be placed on myself freaks me out, mainly because of accountability pressure. My daughters are far braver than I am.
We called her Melanie until we were 15.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No. She'd be
like, no, don't call me mom.
That is interesting because when you have your own business, you really have a lot of titles. Associated with it, but it's like, it's like you have to boil it down. Like, who are you? Like, I call myself creative director because that's ultimately what I do. But we don't talk about like the admin task or the paperwork or the phone calls or the customer service stuff,
No.
you know?
But ultimately,
And
you want to be the creative director. So you're
yeah,
casting your vision by saying that, right? We all do
yeah,
that. Nobody talks about the no fun billing and stuff that you end up doing as a business owner.
the
You should put
important
creative
stuff.
director and secretary of
Yes.
Brainstorm.
Flip the card
It's true,
over.
you know?
Yeah.
And I always knew that those roles were very important in a business, but until you're like in the weeds doing it, you're like, wait, that is like my dream is
Yeah.
to have like an executive assistant, and like my mom obviously will be the first person that I will
Yeah.
interview. Well, nepotism there. I'll
Look at
just
you,
say
Mom.
it. Because she's got all this experience doing it that I'm like, my mom can like, I can trust her like
Yeah.
to treat people the way I want them to be treated, you know? And but like for you, Chris, what do you call yourself in your business?
President.
Nice.
I love it. Yes, president.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be
Mostly.
president.
That's my signature.
Yeah.
That's what my
I love
signature
that.
says. I guess that's what it is.
I love that.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
Does the franchise like provide you kind of like the breakdown of positions, or do you get to kind of decide that yourself?
Every territory gets to do it differently.
Hmm.
So it's really your business. You bought it. Brian, the franchisor, is pretty hands off. He's really cool. He owns another set of franchises too, I think.
Wow.
But he gets it. You know, he understands. Everybody's got a little different style of working. He runs his territory totally different than I run mine, and he encourages dialogue and to share experiences with people. And I think as we're growing a little bit and becoming a little bit more mature of a franchise, you're seeing more people start to work above their business, which has sort of inspired me to do that more, and just sort of seeing that that's the real, because ultimately working in it, I'm going to be limited at some point because it's still my time, right? So
Yeah.
expand, I have to work above it. Like I said, sometimes it's the stubbornness in me that's taken to get that far, but that's okay. I promised myself I was going to work in it for 3 to 5 years, and it's still within that time frame. So
Wow. So when will you feel like it's time so what to you is like working above your business, and when do you feel like it's time to make that leap, if you will?
well, not working in the field entirely, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I would always be involved in. I'm going to always have to be involved in a lot of the day-to-day stuff because I know the stuff better than anybody else. It's been me doing the back office stuff. So
Yeah.
I have the relationships with distributors and things like that where I get parts and new grills and things like that. So that part would always be me. But I think just stepping out of the field and being able to work above it, I can see where all the workflow is going, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Instead of me stopping and doing it during the day and doing it at home when I get it at night, and so. But I've started to take 1 day a week as an office day, which is, it's been very helpful, quite honestly. And I'm seeing the benefits from it, so I'm going to start doing more. So if that starts at 2 days a week, I'm working above it, and eventually I'll get to the place where I'm working above it fully. So
nice.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like whenever you actually spend time doing those office days, that's when a huge bulk of the work gets done and seems to actually like push the business forward.
for sure.
And I
like
think
clarity.
at first, like at first I didn't really realize like the importance of that because like I'm a service provider, so being able to service them, provide that service to my clients is number one. But then I realized there is a point where it's like you still have to build those relationships and those connections to bring in more business, down the road.
Yeah.
So that way, when you are done with this service, it's not like, oh, okay, now what do we do? You can have this, hopefully, a steady flow,
Yes.
of customers, but you have to have those relationships going to do that.
You got to wear all the hats.
Absolutely, you really do. I know It's a very eye-opening experience.
Yeah, no, I'm really proud of you. I think it's really awesome. You've got a great concept, and it's perfect for you. And I'm sure you're gonna continue to do well with it. You can do anything that you want.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
I always had said, I remember I was talking to somebody like several years earlier, and I told them, I said, I love brainstorming. And if I could have a business focused around brainstorming, like I would be so happy. But I was like, who's interested? Like, who would want that? Who needs that?
Everyone. You need to
Yeah.
I realized
everyone needs it, whether they know they need it or not.
Yeah.
Well, I realized so many businesses can't hire a creative person full time, and they
Sure.
need, a creative director for hire. Like, I'm your creative brain for hire. They can
Yeah.
reach out to me when they're feeling that slump, or they're just kind of feeling uninspired. And then I have brainstormed with such a vast variety of businesses that nothing surprises me anymore. I'm like, oh, we're going to brainstorm about a wreath making business? Yes.
Right.
And then before you know it, we have like this whole plan of ideas.
It's awesome.
And I never would have thought. That's the interesting thing.
You're following your dream.
Yeah.
Look at where it's going.
You manifest it.
Yeah.
You set
That's
set
right.
your own course.
You said it out loud once, and then you're like, I can do that.
Yeah.
There's
No, go
also
ahead.
something to be said about like not being ready yet to do your dream. Like, you can have it, and maybe it's like, just because you have that dream right that second doesn't mean that's the time to do it. So there's definitely something to be said about having it and then knowing when it's the right time to fulfill it.
True. But I would also say, and I've been victim to this in at least one of my businesses, is there's never a perfect time. So
Yeah.
if you're going to try and dot every I and cross every T, like, you're better off if you have the itch or the initiative to do it. Just dive in and do it and start figuring it out, because you're going to make 50 mistakes anyway. Like, no matter, you can plan all you want, but it's not going to go according to your plan. So you're better off just going and starting. That's I think a lot of people procrastinate and waste time on tasks that don't matter.
Sure.
They really do. I did.
Yeah. I did too. We all did. It's part of just learning.
Yeah. Casey, do you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, it was just kind of going off of what he was just saying, was kind of like, people will constantly spout off like, there's no perfect time to have a baby.
Right.
And they'll say that all the time. And that's like, that is an 18-year commitment at least.
Yes.
But whenever it comes to like, like what you were saying at the very, very beginning, and like, is there a curve in my R or not?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, you literally the same kind of person who will just like encourage people to like, oh yeah, have your family at any time, do this at any time, like life happens and blah, blah, blah. But applying that to self-growth and applying that to growing their business and that kind of a value is so hard for them. And I think that that's just like such an interesting like mind shift that I even personally have gotten in the past like couple of years.
It is.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know if it's a comfort zone thing, challenging your balance. There's a lot to it. I mean, it's I would say the one thing college teaches you a lot of theory. I think you'd be better served to like do some sort of like business owner apprenticeship somehow. I don't know if you can do that. But I think a lot of the stuff, I mean, I think you learn more just by doing it. I mean, don't you think in your business, either one of them, right? You've learned a lot more by starting the business and just going through the day-to-day and the operations, and they were building relationships and all of that. It's taught you more than you ever even imagined.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, for sure. And honestly, I think it's also having the humility and also the courage to reach out to other people who are doing similar things to you, or like who you see are being successful, and be like, hey, can I talk to you? Can I have this conversation? And, asking questions and being willing to just shut up and listen, to them and what they have to say. Because, well, and one of the reasons why I do this live stream is when I started my business, I really didn't have a circle of people talking about this stuff out loud. And I realized there's so many people who are interested. Like I get a lot of people messaging me, like it could be like for a whole week after my live stream, like,
Yeah.
hey, I didn't catch it that night, but I always watch it the next day. And then they'll usually tell me something that like it inspired them to do or start looking at differently. Or maybe, if they want to do a franchise, maybe they're looking at their finances differently now. Like, oh, you know what? If I want to do this, I need to start looking at how much is that, cost to enter that business. And then
Sure.
what do I need to start saving, each year to be able to meet that goal, to work with that business or have that ability to actually enter the ring for
Something
it.
outside the box. I mean, I paid for mine, and you get a tax deduction every year for it. But I mean, maybe you could take out a loan to, pay for your franchise fee or whatever it takes. Like there's always a way to make things happen. If you want it bad enough, like you can always find a way. And if you don't really want it, you'll always find an excuse. Right?
That's so true.
Life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's avenues out there. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's true. I was talking to someone today. I was like, the one thing I always heard growing up was don't find fault, find a way. And that has always been something that whenever I feel like I've hit a wall in something, like I don't want to just, all right, well, I guess it's not meant to be, and then you quit, and then whatever. It's like, no, actually, if I want this to happen, I either need to have more conversations or I need to learn. I just need to go and educate myself on this thing that I'm trying to achieve. Or maybe no one's done it before, and then you just got to be the pioneer and then see what happens.
Yeah, just do it. Nike. That's the best. That's the best quote I've ever heard.
Mom just commented that mentorship is worth its weight in gold, and absolutely. That is something that I didn't hear a lot about until, I started my own business, was realizing finding the right mentors in the things you want. I don't know if there's like this fear of asking people to mentor you because it's like, oh, I might be taking too much of their time.
Yeah.
But I think people ultimately want to help other people succeed.
Yeah.
I totally think so. It's funny. I think in the digital world where we all kind of evolved to some degree, there's so many business owners out there, and there's so many people doing things, and I think I commented to you at one point when I owned my marketing agency, I was working with people all over the world. I'd never had any inkling that that's what was going to happen. Right. And I'm sure you've done the same thing. You think, heading into something, when you're casting a vision, you see, oh, I think this person's probably a good prospect for me. And then it turns out, the people you think are probably the people you'll never do business with, and the people that never met, and just cross paths with and come into contact with through happenstance end up being great clients and great friends and mentors and things like that. And that's where the digital world has changed business, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really has. It really has. Well, I know, just an example, working with your wife, Kelly, we signed with her. She has her on camera coaching business, which you told me about. Like, I had no idea she was doing that. And like, oh, I need to connect you with Kelly. And, it's like those connections like that change everything. And that's something I always try to be so aware of when I'm talking to someone and they tell me like a specific thing they're struggling with, is my mind is always like running through, like, who do I know who might be the expert or close to the expert in this area to help that person. And I got a little nervous tonight because I'm like, I haven't finished my training with Kelly. And I'm going to be talking to her husband.
Yeah. I'm not really qualified to do any of that training. So
you got a notepad down there. We know it.
Casey's a little more advanced. She's had more sessions than me, and but like, what an amazing business that Kelly can, her skill set is video. And now she's able to create a business just all in that, because people need that now more than ever,
It's a huge need. It's like, It really is. Most people don't know they need it, but they need it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So she's done really well with it, and I'm really proud of her. And yeah, she's taken off, and she loves working with the two of you. I know. So
Yeah, she's great. She's really great. I love how tailored it is to specifically what I'm trying to do. And it's not like there's like a moment that I was like, do I need to show up here in like in a pantsuit? Like what am I like, is she gonna be like, okay, you've gotta like sit still for a second. I'm like, I can't. She's like took like, you know, like who I am and is like making it to where like I have, you know, some good jumping off points, and I think it's awesome. Like I really look forward to it. I'm kind of sad that mine's about to close. I'm almost done.
I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I know we took up quite a bit of your evening, and you're an hour ahead of us, so we really appreciate you and your time. But I want you to tell people like how they can work with you. I know you still have your digital marketing business, and anything else you want to encourage people when it comes to considering the franchise space.
I would. If anybody does want to work with me, you can find me on Facebook, Barbie Clean, Southwest Florida, or Evolve Strategic Consulting. As far as franchise ownership, I would, if you're out there and you're looking to start a business, I think it's a great way for you to explore to starting a business. I would encourage anybody to do it. It's been a great experience. I've done both. Both have advantages, but I do think the franchise business model is underutilized by a lot of entrepreneurs, quite frankly. So that's my wisdom for the evening.
I love it. You may have inspired me. Maybe in a few years I'll be like calling you, but guess what, Chris?
You might be able to be the franchise or of Brittany Brainstorm and have your franchise.
It's gonna happen.
You never know. You never know. I never say never. Whatever the good Lord intends, it will all happen.
That's right.
I love it.
I'm excited. Well, Casey, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm good. Yeah, it was great meeting you.
It's great to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. It was fun.
Yeah,
awesome.
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate your time so much. We'll chat again later.
Yep. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.